So I've started with the legs, or the columns, call them legs. This is all mahogany. And I've got 4 pieces that I've turned on the lathe. I made full-size templates of the leg, and that's in this page here. And then for example, this is the template off of this sheet, and this is the template from this upper part of the column. And I use these 2 templates at the lathe to locate the sizing, the different diameters and position of the square portion. You can see that it's very small. This is 1 inch square at this section, and it goes down to 9/16 up here at the top. I was very careful to prepare stock that was exactly 1 inch square, and making sure that it was all square before putting on the lathe. And then if it's out of square, then the round portion ends up being not concentric with the square portion. So it's important to start with the very square stock. And this is a fluted column, and on this first column I've already inserted in the holly. There are 8 of these flutes that go in here. They're 1/16 inch thick holly. So on the lathe I marked out, because I've got the indexing system on the lathe, I can mark out the position of these flutes. I do that just with a pencil, and then I also scraped with a awl to get a little bit of a groove. And then the next thing I do is to use a V-tool, like this V-tool, and I just carve out a groove. And I get that a little bit deeper, and follow up then with a scraper that I made. This little scraper here, it's made out of old bandsaw material, and I've made this little appendage here that's 1/16 inch wide. And then I use this inside of that V-tool cut to create the rectangular channel for the holly. So then I square up the holly I cut this on the bandsaw, and then I also use a scraper blade to make sure this is 1/16 inch thick. And then I can get it into that groove and glue it. I use hot hide glue. Then I also press that down into the groove with a block of wood or a handle on a carving tool. Push that down, and then after it dry, I use a block plane to flatten it till it's flush with the diameter. And at the ends, I have to use a plane like this to get the ends, because I can't get the block plane out there, and so I can flatten the ends with this tool. And then I use a scraper blade to get rid of all the glue and get it down flush with the mahogany. And the last thing I do is make a little flute. This is flat, just yesterday I glued this piece and this piece, and I use a little carving tool. This is a number 39 English style carving tool, but there you can probably use a veiner, a number 11 veiner just as well to do this, a small veiner. And the idea here is to then create that flute in that holly. And I just follow along like this, the full length, and that shapes a hollow inside that holly piece. I just do this with one shot, one go. That's enough of a shaping. Now, all of this could be mechanized, I suppose, on the lathe with a elaborate jig and a Dremel tool, etc. But by the time I've built a fancy one-off jig for doing this, all of this work, I can do it by hand, and with this process, hand tools, carving tools, it's not as perfect. There's some wave in these flutes. It's not a perfect straight line, but I think it's adequate.